One of the most satisfying parts of playing video games is progressing through the levels and getting more powerful as you play. Usually this happens over the course of many hours, but roguelike games allow you to repeatedly experience that in shorter play sessions. I'm Jay from Keyboard Gaming, and today I'll be showing you the 10 best roguelike games on Steam. I do want to clarify that a lot of these games are in fact roguelike games, but I'm just going to classify a roguelike as one that has permadeath and procedurally generated levels. I felt like I needed to clarify that before tons of people flip out in the comments telling me that these aren't true roguelikes. Recently I realized that I can become addicted to roguelikes extremely easily, and part of that is because this genre is somewhat like gambling. You become addicted to just trying one more run, and you always think that the next run will be the one where you succeed. Paint the Town Red is a game that I've enjoyed for a long time, but the Beneath game mode that's more recently added is an incredibly solid roguelike. It takes the violent voxel-based combat and applies it to a Doom-like setting. You start by choosing one of several available classes, each having their own abilities and strengths. You then start the game by entering the elevator, and that takes you to Beneath, a hellish environment with tons of monsters. You'll soon realize that the game is surprisingly difficult. Many of the monsters can one-shot you, and others take a while to defeat. As you proceed to the next level, you'll find optional trials, bosses to fight, and a shop to purchase new items or use points to permanently upgrade your character. If you find the exit too quickly, you can wait for the door timer to be up, or you can pay to enter it early. Every 3 stages there's a new environment with harder enemies and different bosses to fight. For a game that was never meant to be a roguelike, Beneath is an insanely fun game mode that's worth the full price of the game. Gunfire Reborn is an FPS roguelike with gunplay very similar to the Borderlands series. Every level is filled with various monsters that increase with difficulty. After every stage, you can find a chest that allows you to upgrade your character. During the stages, you can take alternate routes that offer greater challenges but give you greater rewards. Over time, you can unlock different classes to help you get further in the game. Every time you complete a run or die, you'll be able to permanently level your character with the points collected in-game. I've been interested in this roguelike for quite a while, and after I bought it, I wasn't disappointed. The gunplay is awesome, and the gameplay is insanely fun, so I definitely recommend buying it. Before I get to number 8, I just want to briefly ask you to like the video and subscribe to Keyboard Gaming. We appreciate everyone who subs to the channel, and it really helps us out a lot. Okay, let's get back to the video. Dead Cells is a Metroidvania-inspired roguelike where you play as a small, slimy creature that takes control of a corpse. You and this corpse must fight your way out of a dungeon while gaining weapons and collecting the in-game currency called cells. These cells allow you to unlock new items or obtain permanent upgrades for your character. Dead Cells has some really cool pixel graphics, as well as an awesome 8-bit soundtrack. It's a very hard game with no checkpoints and a lot of learning involved, but it got overwhelmingly positive reviews. The environments are beautifully done, and the game has a ton of replayability. Dead Cells describes itself as having Souls-light combat, meaning it's very hard and you'll die a lot. But the rewards you get for progressing are definitely worth it. If you enjoy games like this, then I definitely recommend checking out Dead Cells. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth is a roguelike with a pretty unique story behind it. You play as a child named Isaac, whose insane religious mother believes that God wants her to sacrifice Isaac to prove her faith. Attempting to escape, Isaac flees to a monster-filled basement and is forced to fight his way out. Since Isaac is just a small, defenseless child, the only weapon he has are his own tears. The cool part of the game is that it's based around a child's point of view, and Isaac projects his own fears into the monsters. As you play through the game, Isaac overcomes his fears and becomes more powerful. The gameplay style feels very similar to the original Legend of Zelda games, but with a very creepy feel and roguelike gameplay. The game encourages tons of replayability, and it's developed a huge following over the years. If you're into roguelikes that also have an interesting story, The Binding of Isaac is a good one to pick up. Don't Starve isn't a game that you typically think of as a roguelike, but it definitely is a roguelike at its core. The goal of the game is to learn to survive in the insanely harsh world, while also keeping your sanity high and fighting off monsters. There's an extremely high learning curve that turns off a lot of players, but the ones who push through are rewarded with a deep and content-filled game. Every in-game season, there are new challenges that await the player, such as surviving the cold or being invaded by massive creatures. Resources grow and are replenished, and you only have one life. You're able to discover touchstones that give you another chance at life, but if you die again, it's a permadeath. What's different about Don't Starve is that a single run could take you dozens of hours. It's not a game where you get on and play a couple of rounds, but rather one where you constantly improve your character and spend a long time getting established. Enter the Gungeon is a bullet hell dungeon crawler where your goal is to find the treasure at the end of the Gungeon. The game is extremely hard, and you progress by learning the enemy's attack patterns and dying a lot. There are so many different weapons to use that it's actually insane, and they're all fun to use. At first, a lot of the attack patterns seem impossible, but eventually you'll realize that there's a trick to it, and that's a really satisfying feeling. The frustration of constantly dying is offset by the satisfaction of progressing, which motivates you to play more so you can get further. Enter the Gungeon has some really cool mechanics, such as flipping tables over to use as cover. The game also has a really cute art style to offset some of the frustration of constantly dying. If you enjoy hard but rewarding games, Enter the Gungeon is an awesome game to get. The first Spelunky is one of the most famous roguelikes of all time, and I'm a huge fan of that game. Spelunky 2 is the newer addition to the series, and it adds a lot of new content while retaining the original core gameplay. It changes things just enough to make them feel new, while keeping the parts that everyone loved about the first game. You play as the daughter of the explorer from Spelunky 1, and set off to explore an alien planet in search of your parents. The developer purposely tried to keep everything as true to the first game as possible, and most players love it. Another awesome feature of Spelunky 2 is online multiplayer, meaning that you can play with your friends while being in separate locations. This lets you create some awesome experiences with friends. I'm a huge fan of the first game, and I recommend the second game just as highly. Hades has one of the coolest art styles that I've ever seen in any game. The premise of the game is that you play as the son of Hades, and you're forced to fight your way out of the Greek underworld. The game is a dungeon crawler based on Greek mythology, which is extremely interesting to me. The environments are extremely well done, as well as the enemies and the weapons. As you battle your way through the underworld, you'll find new weapons that you can upgrade, and new abilities from the other Greek gods. It's based very much on the story, so you'll feel like there's a reason to keep pushing through and completing more runs. The game also gives you tons more reasons to continue playing, which makes you want to keep going to see what's next. Hades is one of the best games of the year, and it's one of the best roguelikes ever created. I've put Noita in other videos before simply because I love it so much. In this game, you play as a wizard who uses spells to fight enemies. The big feature of Noita is the fully simulated physics and completely destructible world. Every single pixel can be destroyed, and there are dangers everywhere you turn. Elemental creatures attack you, which destroys the environment and creates more hazards for you. Between each stage, you gain new abilities and can create wands with different powers. The spellcrafting mechanic allows you to create some insanely powerful wands to help you fight creatures and navigate through the harsh terrain. Noita has so much depth packed into it that I've watched countless videos about it and still don't understand all of the mechanics. The game also contains secrets and lore, many of which haven't been discovered yet. It's such a content and secret-rich game that I recommend it to anyone who likes pixel games like this. Risk of Rain 2 is one of the most unique games I've ever played. From the music to the art style, everything about it draws you in and gets you addicted to it. The story of the game is that you are stuck on an alien planet and are forced to fight your way to your ship. As you defeat enemies, you gain coins to unlock chests and buy items from the multi-shops, One of the main reasons I love Risk of Rain 2 is that it lets you become as overpowered as you want. Sometimes you have runs where you literally become unbeatable, and you can end the run whenever you want. The unlockable artifacts also give the game new dimensions of replayability, and allow you to cater runs to your personal playstyle. Risk of Rain 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, and I definitely think that anyone who loves roguelikes should try it out. And that's gonna be it for my list of top 10 roguelikes on Steam. So what did everyone think about the titles on this list? If I missed any good ones, I'd love for some people to let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching Keyboard Gaming. We'll see you in the next video.